Michelle. I'm your motivator and I'm your spiritual evolutionist on this Wake Up Wednesday. If you're still sleeping spiritually, it's time to wake up. We've gone through a lot these last couple of days. There's been some adjustments in the universe, in the world, because everything has to get on the balance and the foundation of how God originally intended for us to take this journey. Remember, we are just traveling. This is not our home, but God prepared a place so that we can gain the experience of walking in this flesh, but actually in the spirit. And the only way you can do that is to allow yourself to be spirit minded, to allow yourself to be awakened and awoke, and to allow yourself to be conscious of your greatest version of yourself. I tell you that all the time. Things are not the way they look from this perspective, but they're so much greater from the inner mind. The outside mind is only going to show you illusional things. They're going to show you things that won't last. They're going to show you temporary things. We are a permanent God being from the inside out, not the outside in. And so as we begin to transition in so many ways, your transition can be out of the body here, your transition can be out of the body in your next dimension, in your next assignment. And so we need not to get comfortable here. Again, this is not our home. We are just traveling. We're not dwellers. We're just travelers. And so as you allow yourself to be in a shift mode, in a flexible mode, in a mode that allows you to shift when it's necessary. And so as you awaken and as you are in this state of being, you must be always in a shift mode because everything is happening in a twinkling of an eye. Not a twinkling of the eyes, but in a twinkling of the eye, the inner eye, the third eye, the first eye, the intuitional eye, whatever you call it, as long as you call it. And so as we begin to move forward, this is not a time to give up. This is time to get up and wake up. This is not a time to be depressed because your depression is based on your past. This is not a time for you to have anxiety because your anxiety is based on your future. And both of them are illusions. The only reality you have at this very present moment is right now. And as you begin to recognize that you are just in the present moment, you're out of the past, it's gone. And you haven't reached the future, it has not come. So the only thing that you're awake and aware of, or should be awake and aware of, is your present moment. In this present moment, what are you experiencing? Have you invited the presence of God into your day? What? He's forever present. But he would love to have an invitation to be in your presence. And so there is a difference. Because I'm present with you if you're watching, but I'm not in your presence. You cannot tangibly touch me. It is something that we can tangibly feel, a God or a spirit. The God is a spirit that we cannot see with the physical eyes, but we can experience in our spiritual body. Man, that is good in the neighborhood. That ought to encourage someone. That encourages someone. I told you I was going to keep talking about this suicide thing. That is not an option for you. There is so much more that is in front of you. Suicide is not your way out. What you must do is discover you. As you begin to discover you, you will annihilate and eliminate suicide. Talk to somebody. Call out for help. If you can't bear this by yourself, connect with somebody. Call me. Inbox me. Email me at mortarrock@hotmail.com. But do not put yourself in a box, in a closet, and allow the enemy, the devil, the mental disorder to begin to speak over your life. You have to take responsibility and shut that down. You know what? There is none like you in all the earth. And so we must allow ourselves. There's somebody waiting for your testimony. There's somebody's waiting to hear a word just from you. So don't commit suicide. And some of us commit suicide by downing ourselves and not loving ourselves. We may not take ourselves out of the physical realm, but we emotionally, suicidally take ourselves out by talking negative things, by listening to negative things, and by believing negative things. Just because a person says it doesn't mean it's true. So I've tried to encourage you in this first 5 minutes of today's Michelleology Involution Meditation. That is what meditation is. Meditation is medicine. It is medicine for your mind. Anybody that meditates know that they clear the head mind and they're able to hear the heart mind. It's heart mind first, then you line up your head mind. This is full of fear. This is full of faith. This is illusional. This is eternal. And so when you recognize that, you begin to move in the greatest version of yourself, calling yourself to be a God being. Well, now see that all I just gave you was just an appetizer, but we're going to move into the message for today. Today I want to talk to you about a processing mind. A processing mind is what we've been learned. And I keep continuing to tell you that we were not put here to learn. We were put here to what? Remember. As often as you do this in remembrance of me, my mental equation. You do this in remembrance of who you are. And because God is in you, he's not in the sky, because he resides in you, then you begin to recognize that there's something going on in me. And so meditation allows you to discover the greatest version of you. It allows you to hear what the Spirit is saying to you. You are the church not made by hand. Now, I'm not against people going in the building, but if you're just going in the building and you haven't gone into the real church, then you're going to be learned some things. But the real church causes you to remember who you are, causes you to remember what your tools are, causes you to remember your purpose and your destiny, causes you to hear what the Spirit is saying to you about your situation. A lot of times we try to make things that God is saying to us for everybody, but all the times it's not for everybody, because we operate in a revelational mode. We operate in a mode where light, Christ is light. Jesus Christ is the light. And he begins to shine the light on some things that you've been walking in darkness. Yes, they have learned you darkness. And they've learned you to be comfortable in darkness. They've learned you to call darkness normal. And all this is in the processing mind. And so we've been learned that everything is a process. But that's not necessarily true. If you're looking at time and if you're looking in the flesh, that's how you see it. But if it's manifesting in your spirit, everything that manifests in your spirit is immediately, right now, in the present moment. And we begin to manifest it into time. Time cannot fit into eternity. Eternity is everlasting. It has no boundaries. It has no stops. It is unlimited. And it is where the church, this is where your treasure is. You have to find and define the place where your treasure is. Your treasure is on the inside. This is an inside job. If you allow yourself to keep going on the inside, just a moment. If you allow yourself to keep going on the inside, you're going to birth some awesome things for your life. We spend so much time outside that sometimes, or right now, we can't even recognize the inside because we become unconscious. We've fallen asleep to these learned practices, these learned things that they want to learn you, to control you, to take away your freedom. It is your birthright to have your freedom, your inheritance, and your nationality, to know who you are, not who they told you were, but allowing yourself to remember what they tried to make us forget, that we would not remember who we were. So now we move into that. So the processing mind, sometimes we have to come away from the processing mind because we begin to limit God. We begin to try to figure out what God is saying, what God is doing. How is he going to do that? Why is he doing that? And we begin to deter us receiving. Because if you doubt, you do without. But if you believe, you shall receive. And if you know, you're going to grow. So it's a process of consciousness, of us experiencing our very own consciousness in what God has given us and how he's providing for us and where he's taking us. He's opening multiple doors, but most of us are too fearful to walk into those doors because those doors are unknown to us. They are not what we've been learned. They are what we will remember. The moment that you walk into a door that's open for you and you believe that it's an unknown way of going, the moment you walk into that unknown door, God will automatically, immediately, not processing your mind, but immediately cause you to remember that this is where you're supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what you're supposed to be receiving. This is how you're supposed to be going forth in this place, in this place, in this space. But the processing mind causes you to do, let me see how I can put it, fearful steps, because you don't know what the next step is going to bring. And so anytime you're operating in fear, God is not giving you that. And so in the processing mind, sometimes we cancel out the immediacy, if that's a word, of what it is we're willing to happen. So today, in the middle of my day, I don't know if y'all know who Reverend Nike is, or if you remember who he is, or if you've ever introduced him. You need to go on YouTube and pull up some of his teaching. He was teaching beyond his time. It was not just about money. If you begin to listen, it was not just about money. It was not just about money. It was about revelations. So today he talked about when Moses got in the cleft of the rock and God told him, you can't see my face, but I'm going to cover you with my hand and you will see the hind parts. Now listen, this revelation is not mine, but I have to share it with you. Reverend Ike began to tell me as a revelation that he had. The reason you couldn't see God's face, he said the revelation of the face is seeing it. Okay, and he said sometimes when we're looking through these eyes, we don't see what God sees. So God doesn't allow you to see sometimes what he sees. Why? Because it'll scare the hell out of you. It will scare you. And so he said, what God did was eliminated the process for Moses. Oh, this is good in the neighborhood. He eliminated the process by placing his hand so that when he passed by, all Moses could see was the finished product. He didn't have to go through the process. He didn't have to wonder how God was going to do it. But if you just remain in the cleft of the rock is unmovable. This rock is the light. This is Jesus. If you just remain there and allow God to cover you with his hand, then you will see the end results. Come on here. That's a revelation. I don't know if that's good for you, but it's good for me in the neighborhood. That sometimes we try so hard, trying. I already told you, every time you're trying, you're planning to fail. Anybody that say they're going to try to be at your event, or they're going to try to come, or they're going to try to call you, they are not going to do it. They are setting themselves up for failure, and they're setting you up for failure. So sometimes we have to stop trying to figure out how God's going to do this. I know it looks impossible, but we serve a God that works the possibilities and cancels out the impossibilities. So As long as God's hand is covering you, you don't have to worry about the process. You don't have to try to figure out. We spend so much time figuring out. And it's not going to work how we're figuring. The mathematics, the spiritual mathematics that God used to increase us, how I'm still living in this house and haven't worked in almost 2 years, a year and a half, and still here. All the lights are on, the gas is on, food is in the refrigerator. That you cannot figure out in a processing mind. How did I recover from what they said was COVID-19 when everybody else was dying? There was no vaccine. They didn't even know what they were doing. They was just trying stuff. How? I didn't try to figure it out. God just worked it out. And sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, we have to trust ourselves to trust God. There are times we trusted our parents and we didn't worry about if we were going to have food, if we were going to have clothes. We just trusted our parents. And we just knew, when I was a little girl, when I was afraid, I just knew my mom could handle any boogeyman or monster or anything that I was afraid of. So when I would get scared, she would just say, lay here at the end of my bed. And I went right to sleep because I was in the protection. And I knew that was the protection. Why can't we have that same trust in a God who's never failed us, who's never left us, who's always been there? Your experience with God is to help you lengthen and strengthen the places that there's a little weakness or a shakiness. So your processing mind is always trying to figure it out. And most of the time, it never works out because your figuring is not the same as God mathematics. So allow the hand of God. Stop trying to see everything because you try to see them like this. Sometimes you have to become blind and just close your eyes and meditate and just see the end product already done, calling those things that are not as if they already were. From the beginning to the end, to the front to the back, to the inside to the outside. We have total coverage. I used to work in the insurance field, and we have total coverage. And the premium has already been paid. The thing that we must do is work the trust. Work the trust that we have for our Savior. His name would not be Savior if he wasn't saving us. Being saved is not a one-time situation. It is an ongoing thing. So those of you that think, oh, I'm saved and that's it. No, it's ongoing because he said you must be born again and again and again. And it's not the same born again as you were born physically. When you receive revelations, when the word becomes flesh and the light is shined on the word that just became flesh, you become born again. You see it a different way. I was telling my kids last night, we meet every Tuesday and we have a meeting. And we begin to talk about the things that are deep. We begin to talk about the things that no parent really wants to talk to their kid about. But if you don't talk to them about it, somebody else will. So I open it up so that they feel free to talk about anything. When I say anything, I mean anything. But I begin to say to them, when I leave this place, I may or I may not leave you currency. We call it money. But the legacy that if my mom knew what I knew, now she started me off, she gave me a start. But if she knew the things that I have discovered, God has revealed to me and passed it on to me, the legacy, if I knew now, if I knew what I know now as a teenager, as I'm sharing with you guys, then there's no telling where I would be at this point. So God is allowing me to leave a legacy that will last forever. Nobody can take this from them. Nobody can steal it, because once you know a thing, you can't unknow it. And so today I want you to relieve yourself of the processing mind. You will find perfect peace if your mind is just stayed on Jesus. It stayed on the light. It stayed on the resolution. It stayed on the good. It stayed on the positive. We spend so much time focusing on the negative, focusing on crazy stuff. If we would take the time that we spend on ridiculous things and put them on spiritual things will turn out differently. Well, I know this is good in the neighborhood. I know it is. You can't lose. What you say, Reverend Knight? You can't lose with the stuff I use. I'm telling y'all, I'm challenging you. Go to YouTube. Begin to listen to the studies of Reverend Ike. I'm telling you, he's got a word that's fitting so well in this present moment and this present time. Well, this is Michelle. I'm your motivator. I'm your spiritual evolutionist. I thank you so much for joining me. Listen, the processing mind is going to take you out of time and put you in the immediacy of the right now. Yes, yes, that's good in the neighborhood. On this Wake Up Wednesday, I'm just trying to shake you and wake you so you can go forth and be the greatest version of yourself. Thank you, Haps TV, for this platform. I hope it's streaming to Facebook. You know, we had to shut down, so I don't know if this is going to stream or if it's not. But I thank Haps TV for the opportunity for this platform to stream out to multiple social medias. Listen, download the app. It's free. It's free now. Download the app. You can support this ministry, other ministries, or other. They're not necessarily ministry. There's all type of information that you can gain from this app, or you may want to start your own. So whatever you're being led to do, be encouraged and know that the processing mind is slowing you down. When you begin to see like God sees, then it's automatically, it's immediately, it's right now. It happens in a twinkling of an eye. Let's just take a breath right there. Like, yeah, causes you to be energized and relaxed. Well, not yet. Just slow down. You've been created by the Creator to be creative, so start creating your creations and stop duplicating. And let's move forward with an excitement instead of a fear of losing. Anything that you lose, God then needed to bless you. Let me tell you, if it wasn't, when He gets there, it becomes. And if He's in you, so anything that wasn't, once you get there, it becomes. You're a creator. Come on now. You've been created by the Creator to be creative, so start creating your creations. Stop duplicating. May the love, joy, peace, power, and sound-mindedness be your soul food for today. Yes, on this Wake Up Wednesday. We will see you the next time. When the next time will be, I don't know. When the appropriate time, you will see me and I will see you. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for those that are still purchasing my book. You can do it on Amazon, or you can contact me, inbox me, send me a message, and you can cash out me $17 at the $, the Motivated One, leaving your address, and I will get that book out to you. Listen, thanks for your support. Thanks for your prayers. Thanks for your encouragement. Thanks for your negativity. Thanks for your positivity. In all things, I will give thanks. Be blessed.